and situate the discussion. It's really, I want to thank Dawn for inviting me to moderate this session. You've heard for the last 2 days that we are at a moment of urgency, especially for climate vulnerable countries in this region. Pakistan's reality is unmistakable, from catastrophe of floods to prolonged droughts to glacial melt. This experience is really not unique to Pakistan. This is why we have this panel. It reflects a reality across South Asia, small island nations, least developed countries. And what unites all this is a clear vulnerability to climate and the number one risk for these countries' development ambitions. So this session essentially is grounded on the central theme that South-South cooperation is not a substitute for global solidarity, but is a cornerstone of it. So today, from the experts that we have. The question before us is simple but urgent. How can we move from parallel effort to shared trajectory to deliver real results? Within this framework, us at the United Nations, we see South-South cooperation as an accelerator of climate action. That's why the panel that brings voices from the mountain states, I will not test your geography, who represent the mountain states, maybe I will later, to island nations, to regional neighbors, to humanitarian finance experts, to policymakers, and to the private sector. You will hear diverse opinions and perspectives from these expert panelists, so I will urge all of you to pay close attention. I also promise you as a moderator, I will keep them within the time frame of 5 minutes. It was supposed to be 7 minutes, but I'm told because of time now I have to reduce to 5 minutes, but we'll see what Dawn colleagues tell me. I have 3 or 4 of them in front and they'll give me a sign. But we want to keep it within limited time and make it as engaging as possible. So allow me to quickly introduce our panelists and who they are so you know who you are listening to. Dr. Iram Sata, you've heard, I had the pleasure of sitting next to her. She's a Pakistani national with an SJD from Harvard University, expert on water, federalism, and transboundary water governance, especially in the Indus Basin, the neighborhood. So you'll hear more from her. We have Renato Contastino, International Policy Advisor on Climate Vulnerable Forum. He's a Filipino expert and advisor on Climate Vulnerable Forum V20 Group and a managing director of the foundation, Contastino Foundation on Civic Engagement. We also have my sister and a leader in this country, Romina Alam, a coordinator to the Prime Minister on climate change. You've seen her, she's been an activist. She's been engaging on climate issues for many years. She serves at the Prime Minister's Climate Coordinator since 2024, oversees the national climate and international engagement on climate. So every time you've gone to COP, you will see her representing Pakistan with pride and for the last few years. Tom Wang is a founder and executive director of People of Asia on Climate Solutions. He has 20 years experience in development sector and communication. He founded the People of Asia Climate Foundation in 2018. He has led communication work on Greenpeace, World Animal Protection, and campaign on tobacco-free kids in China. So a lot of experience, Tom. Thank you very much for joining us. Then I have Seema A. Khan, principal at the Seed Advisory Group. She's a creative leader who has been at the forefront on climate and the global climate finance across the world. She was the general counsel of the internet-born era trade, escape.com. A lot of experience. In Saudi Arabia, she served as a chief strategy officer for the Saudi Arabia General Investment Authority. Again, thank you very much, Seema, for joining us and welcome. And then we have my member states, people who I report to indirectly or directly, 2 ambassadors. We have Mohammed Toha, His Excellency, the High Commissioner of Maldives to Pakistan, Ambassador. Thank you very much for joining us. And Her Excellency Rita Detail, Ambassador of Nepal to Pakistan. And both of them have extensive experience on everything to do with diplomacy and negotiations and multilateralism. So colleagues, I think you'll agree we have an incredible panel. So we'll start with the questions and hopefully we'll finish on time. Please pay as close attention as you possible and please welcome this incredible panel. Thank you very much. No? Okay. First question goes to Dr. Iram. She, as I said, came all the way from Boston to join this. So we're very delighted that you were able to join us today. I think that your question relates directly to the work and experience you have around the Indus Basin. And the question is about shared water resources. We are asked to share water resources in a politically contested region, but also climate impacted region. So how can South-South cooperation on shared river basins strengthen climate resilience and reduce conflict risks and deliver results for the people? Easy question, no?
What a rich morning. 5 minutes on this. We're going to solve it. Delighted to be here, honestly, and I'm going to be super quick and efficient because that's all we've got. If any of you attended the lecture that I gave yesterday, I brought up the concept of ethical leverage. Pakistan, as you know, sits where the transboundary water sharing is very, very complex. There is obviously India in the east, but there's also the Kabul River that goes, sort of like touches Afghan. Transboundary water condition sharing here is definitely not easy. That's clear. But I also think that we can expand the lens of this from just transboundary river sharing because Pakistan is a huge ecosystem. There's a massive delta. And that massive delta has huge sort of like an impact because of rising sea levels, increasing salinity, right? Lower downstream sort of flows. So for me, and I'm just going to mention this personally, this is, my dada, my father's father, happened to be from the Maldives Islands. Now, not everybody is from the Maldives Islands, they're dadas, but mine was. And I have an immense personal sort of feeling where I think that we need to think very seriously about small island nations and what is happening and what is rising sea levels going to do. This is thousands of years of cultural heritage. What will people do who have to be displaced? So just like small island nations are under threat, people in the delta are under threat. So the threats are sort of like compounding, and I think Pakistan needs to think about this. So for me, I think Pakistan sits at this really interesting intersection of a lot of complexity that touches many nations here. Obviously, there's glacial melt, right? All of that's happening in the upper Himalayas. That touches, sort of like countries like Nepal. The concept that I mentioned, which was of ethical leverage, I think that's what we need to think about. I think you develop a lot more credibility to speak internationally and to speak in coalitions if you do well within the polity that you're in. And I think Pakistan can experiment at all of these scales. Imagine Pakistan does really well in helping save the delta. Wouldn't that be an amazing experience? There are delta regions around the world. I mean, the Mississippi is a massive delta that has problems, right? So my sort of thing is, and I will just allude to this, as we know, we live in great geopolitical complexity. Mark Carney was just giving this speech at Davos about how, the middle powers need to rise. And not that we need to allude to Mark Carney specifically, but absolutely, we can take responsibility. We have such a laboratory and an ecosystem where we can think about things, do them well here within our jurisdictions, and then share with partners. And absolutely, we can have lessons that others can learn from. So I think we should approach this with immense confidence that we have an experimentation possibility. And all of the transboundary sort of water sharing, I mean, as we know, right, and just specifically on rivers flow, right? They have no idea where we have drawn political boundaries. That's a human thing, okay? The river has no idea. So we are the ones who build human reliance on those rivers. But if we can do a little better to manage economic complexity, ecosystem complexity, living livelihoods within our border, I think we'll have a lot better platform from which to speak with confidence to other places around the world, right? That says, you know what? Guess what? Our interprovincial water sharing can be a model. So instead of contestation between Punjab and Sindh, which is a perennial issue of water sharing, why don't we try and do this really ethically within so that people feel that they are getting a just deal here, there is development and there is ecosystem preservation, then we share those with the world. So I always think that like if you look inside and like, you know, fix yourself first, you'll have a lot more standing to interact with other people at other scales and in global context. So we can be a lab, we can be a place where lessons generate from, but we have to look inside and sort of correct ourselves. And that's what I think we should do with confidence, because we have so much that we can experiment, right? And that's amazing. I mean, this is a hugely diverse place where we are sitting, and we have a lot that we can learn from here, do better, and then write it up, speak it out, go to conferences, tell people, look to us, look, we had this problem too, this is how we solved it. And, you know, let's add to sort of like global knowledge also. So I think we should be very sort of comfortable and fun and confident and think that we have solutions that we can bring to bear.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Maybe if we have time, we'll come back. If you can tell us more on examples in the region, if there's examples of water sharing, cross-border water sharing that has worked. Is that your? Everybody knows you as Red, so you don't mind, hopefully.
My name is too long.
So Renato, the question for you is really about what has been the most effective South-South cooperation mechanism, especially in alliances like V20. Maybe also, Renato, you use the opportunity for colleagues and audience who don't know a lot about V20 as an introduction. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Again, the dilemma is 5 minutes. So the Climate Vulnerable Forum and the V20 Group of Finance Ministers, founded in 2009, 11 countries. By the time I joined in 2015 as an advisor, it was 20. Now we're 74, and we represent 1.7 billion people around the world. Our members include the most vulnerable countries who have done so little to contribute to the problem. The session began with a statement that South-South cooperation is a cornerstone. I say it's another way to spell leadership. And if we talk about leadership, this is the right place to do so, because as probably the whole world knows, is very thankful for the leadership that has been displayed by Pakistan in trying to sort out warring big powers. And this is the kind of leadership that we actually need from those who are interested to bring about peace. What have we done in particular in the CVF and D20 that would matter? There's many, but I would like to focus on a couple of things. We have been flooded with a lot of data and numbers since yesterday. I think I'd like to put a context onto this in terms of the politics and the changes that we are able to leverage because we are determined to deliver change. So we were established in 2009. In 2015, 2 months before the Paris Agreement was gaveled, the CVF established what is called the V20 Group of Finance Ministers. The initial response of the finance ministers was one of surprise. It took them about 2 months to realize that, yes, they are at the center of the climate crisis resolution. For so long, many people up to now think that climate change is an environmental issue, which is just a subset of the entire problem. We are in the middle of a development crisis, and we need the economic managers of all our member countries to take the lead. By establishing the V20 Group of Finance Ministers, we actually set the bar very high for the rest of the world. Europe, North America, other advanced nations did not really know what to do. It was V20 being established that set the tone, because we said, if we do not have an economic plan an economic and development strategy to address this crisis, what are we doing? What's the point? Initially, the ministries in the advanced nations were sending back some of our letters saying this has to go to the aid department or to the development ministry. And we said no. Our members are not looking for charity. We are looking for partnership. Our goal is not to ask or beg for aid. Our goal is investment and trade. And so the V20 thus focused on the issues that mattered most to our peoples. Yes, there are ecological problems, but much of this has to be addressed and can only be addressed when we look at cost of capital, when we look at the risks, when we look at investments and what we need to do to bring them in. This is why we also established what we call the Global Parliamentary Group. It's not about declamations or statements or manifestos talking about who is the most responsible. The Global Parliamentary Group of the CVF and B20 was designed to ensure that regulations are in place so that we can attract the investments that we direly need and to keep them. Because otherwise, again, the question, what are we doing? What's the point? The climate crisis is not simply an environmental issue. If it's a development problem, then we have to tackle it in the right way. Our goal is not to reduce emissions per se. Our goal is to advance resilience in development, which is also why we formed, again to pioneer a global response, we formed the Central Bank Governors Group to tackle monetary policy and what is needed to bring about financial change that would make changes last and endure. So everything has been about finance and economics that dovetails with the best work that is happening with the Environment and Foreign Affairs ministries. But economic outcomes is ultimately what our people will measure us by, what our people will really monitor. Because for us, emissions reductions are great. But ultimately, even if the climate crisis is the largest problem that we have all ever faced, it is not necessarily the most important. To a family, food, jobs, shelter, and health are just as important. Luckily, our economic managers also understand that if we bring development to the working families of our nations, that is also our greatest contribution to the global climate crisis. Because we save when we switch to renewable energy instead of relying on fossil fuels. And that savings can go towards social services, towards adaptation, towards resilience, towards better infrastructure. When we chase resilience as the main priority from our macroeconomy to our micro neighborhoods, we know that we will bring about things that will change for lives for the better, and at the same time make things more efficient. Because in the end, the belief of CVF and V20 is that when you place resilience at the topmost priority and you deliver infrastructure that lasts and changes in supply chains, in logistics and urban services, when you transform society as a priority, we contribute to the global climate good in far bigger ways. Right now, we're in a crisis moment. I think it's actually important to state what it really is. We are in an impasse that is best explained by one of the world's best poets, who happens to be Pakistani. Faiz Ahmad Faiz once wrote, neither dusk will fall, nor darkness arrive. Neither night will end, nor dawn arise. What we need is leadership to get out of this impasse. And leadership means using everything in the toolbox: science, policy, politics, and yes, including poetry.
Thank you very much, Renato. And hopefully we'll have time to come back to what you just said, and specifically in relation to for climate action to work, the people have to see the benefit of it, especially those deprived. I think that is an important point and something that always comes back in this discussion. So I'll quickly move to Romina, you know, and you've represented Pakistan in many of the COP discussions. We're preparing for COP 31. Where do you see as the strongest opportunity for deepening South-South cooperation? Be it your Prime Minister, I think that I was meeting some of the ministries and they told me the line that the Prime Minister wants you to go through is what they call Shabazz line or Shabazz speed. So the results is an important factor for government. Where do you see this going on South-South?
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Very good morning to all dear fellows. And for me, today is a great day. First of all, very quickly, I just wanted to say great tribute to Dawn, because media is something which is very much a strong component where the voices can reach where maybe me or you can't reach. So one of that thing, that the continuity, I must say. And then today I'm really, really happy to see on my right and left that sitting among with my friends, of course Red, and of course my dear Yaya as well, and Seema and all of them, and sitting in middle of them, because in the COP29, it was just memories which I'm refreshing, that Red also know that it was the craziest time of my life at the COP29, because it was moreover like running to get the thing done, not only for Pakistan, for this region. And over there, we discussed about the regional solution. And I really want to congratulate and to pay thanks as being a human, not as being just a coordinator, but as being a human, I really want to pay thanks to UN. But other than that, the organizations which are in the UN, like they're working like UNF, if you're talking about the Indus Water Basin, treaties and all that. And then, of course, CVF. CVF is something people mostly, they said that, Romina, you talk a lot about CVF. It seems like you're with them. I said, no, I'm not with them. They are with me. We are with them. It is because when we talk about right now, I don't want you to talk about anything technical, because you see, one thing, it's in my personal humble opinion, because I don't want anyone to take it in a wrong way, that as being a parliamentarian, my job is not to be an expert. I believe, this is my understanding, I need to have the expertise from the expert and to bring them together, and then to align the policy for my people, for the public, because me representing the people, so I always say I'm from the people, by the people, and because of the people. So today, when we are talking about the solutions, when we are talking about the South-South cooperation, so for me, COP, and at the COP as well, I don't mind to say that I've very clearly mentioned that we can't go for the global solutions. We need to come up for the regional solutions, because we cannot give a Panadol tablet to everyone for every issue. Every region has a different problems. So if we talk about specifically about this region, we know and we understand the developed countries, the way they're treating the developing countries. And most probably, this region is suffering. Our children are suffering. And we are not in the state of crisis. We are in the state of war from the climate change. Because the way we all are suffering now, me, you, and most of us, we have led a beautiful life. But what about the children who are coming through? So it is their human right as well. It's their right. So how much we are focused? So I believe strongly, as you mentioned about the Shabazz speed, I am really thankful to the Honorable Prime Minister, the trust which he has showed. But moreover, I'm really thankful to all the organizations who are sitting over here, who always have the trust on me that yes, with her or along with her, we can get the things done. And we have done that. And we are looking forward to do that. And in that matter of fact, Yaya, my dear brother, I don't know I'm on the Shabazz speed, but yes, of course, as being my leadership, I tried to make, and that in the COP, of course, those who attended the COP, they knew that they said, like, how can you make it possible? But that is all a teamwork. And it was not alone Romina or Pakistan. It was the regional support. It was CVF. It was UNAP. It was everyone, even the media as well. So, how we can work, that is more important. And then getting back to this particular thing, I don't know how the COP's going to work, because it is not now for me as I don't want to call myself an activist, because this is not something I have to do as an activist. This is something I always say that now, because as Red mentioned, as all of us, my dear lady, she also mentioned about when we're talking about the water, that now this is not me and you, it's us. We all need to support each other, and South Asia or South Cooperation or this region can do wonders. We don't have to look for here and there for the support, for the funding, for the grants. We can do the trade with a respectful way. That if we don't have money, it's okay. You have wheat, I have rice. Let's swap. Let's come and talk about the solutions. I don't want to give her any, and most important thing, I hate this word, that when we say that the vulnerability, this region, the people, either it's Maldives, either it's Pakistan, either it's Sri Lanka, either it's Bangladesh, anyone, all these countries, the people, the developing countries' people, they are the resilience nation. And if you talk about Pakistan, we have proved in the floods that we are not looking for the aid, man. We are looking for the trade, because this is not something we created. This is not the God-made crisis, please. This is not the natural calamities. These all are the man-made disasters. So we need to grow up, I strongly believe, and strongly we have to stand for each other. And how it can be possible? By sitting, and I think these sort of the forums, where the media, where the CVF, where the UNEP, or the UN, yourself, Mr. Yaya, who is sitting over here, and the private partners, we have to take the development sector and the private corporate sector along. Because G2G is something which goes. But moreover, it's B2B as well. Public to public, people to people, academia to academia, that how we can get the things done. Because now we are not living in some globe. Now we all, I strongly believe, and I always say that we are the citizens of the planet. Because if the planet is not going to be there, excuse me, no one is going to be there. So what we are looking for, because now, not only the state of war, I'm saying, like the climate, look at what's happening in the world. Like one place we're talking about, please, where the glaciers are melting, the water crisis, the food security, and what's happening. One developing area, like we all know, and I don't want to go in that details because this is something we're talking about climate, but this is something about the food security. It is something about the human rights challenges. It's something about the children. It's something about everyone, living things, and those as well, life under the water, life above the sky, So these are the things where I believe that these forums can play a pivotal role as a bridge where we all now need to sit. We don't want to go for those solutions that, okay, let's go for the COP. What about the loss and damage fund? Where is that fund? Nothing happened. So please, excuse me, I just don't want to hurt anyone, but this is something we all need to understand, that we need to stand for each other. Because today is Pakistan, tomorrow it can be someone else. Today is Maldives, tomorrow it can be Sri Lanka, tomorrow it can be anyone. Are we waiting for that let the water go above our head? No. So if no, then let's sit together, come up with the solution plans. Because I'm here not to give the technical things, I'm here to learn from the technical, and everybody know that when it comes to technicality, I always believe that, and I'm not a perfect person, I love to learn. So when urge of learning is there, things we can do, this is something we have to stand, and climate justice is something which we don't know we're going to get it, not get. So justice is right now very much important, but moreover important is survival. Are we ready for that? Are we waiting for that someone else is going to come and tell us that this is adaptation, that is mitigation? Adaptation and mitigation is very important component, but if my child needs a bread, if my child is hungry, I'm not going to care about the mitigation or adaptation, guys. We need to think about as a human that how the realistic solutions we can give to the people. And now it's a great time because everyone is talking about the climate change. Everyone is talking about the things. And you see, in Pakistan right now, the biggest challenge is now heat waves are going to be, they are very much there. So these are the things I think, I tried my level best, but last one thing, please no blame, no shame, just take actions. We need to come up with one aim and we have to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I allowed Her Excellency Romina will get votes and get more time. So thank you very much. And I really like the idea of leadership. I think also Renato also pointed out on this. One of the things I think hopefully could come out of this conference is that because Pakistan has shown global leadership in giving us a ceasefire in this region and ending a war that hopefully sustainably soon, that leadership in Pakistan, if that is transferred to climate, I think the results could be even much more bigger. So I think your government and the government of Pakistan, I think, has an important role on the climate discussions globally. I'll move now to Tom Wang. Tom, the question for you is what is your opinion on emerging opportunities for global South actors to upscale technology? And I mentioned technology because we're all amazed what China has been able to do with EVs and batteries and the entire technology around renewables in a very short period of time. And you've heard from Renato that we can only convince the poor, the masses in many of South Asian countries to go renewable if they benefit from it. What has been your experience and how can technology be the solution? Over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would really want to thank CVF and also Dawn to invite me here. It's great to actually hang out again with Romina after half a year. We were just in Beijing last September. Technology, we were also talking about technology last September in Beijing. It didn't really happen overnight in China. Red was in China back in 2004, 2005. That was when we were talking about a law in China called the Renewable Energy Law. And that was the time when China still thought climate change was a Western country-led hoax. But in order to clean up China's own air, in order to provide more energy security, China was looking at energy or renewable energy as the new technology to provide new sources, new kind of like mix for China's overall energy. So that was when it all started. Now, exactly 2 decades later, we can see China is the world's largest renewable energy developer and also researcher and manufacturer, investor, and exporter and everything. So it took China 20 years, but that's also happened pretty fast in a relative way. However, I think when it comes to technology, of course, policy is important, finance is important, money is very important. At the very beginning, China provided a lot of subsidy to develop the manufacturing, to develop the R&D, and also to develop the installation of renewable energy inside China as well. However, I think more important than technology is people. Just yesterday, when I was walking around this venue, I met a lot of young Pakistani people, and they came up to me speaking beautiful English and even Chinese, and I was really surprised. And almost everybody uses WeChat because it's just so easy to stay in contact. And that's what I think will play such an important role in the coming decades between China and Pakistan, and between China and the whole world, really, because people are the ones who will be showing or who will be taking the real leadership, especially young people. For PAC, my organization, People of Asia for Climate Solutions, one of my favorite programs is called Future Renewable Energy Engineer Program, where we started in 2023. That was 10 years after Super Typhoon Haiyan hit the Philippines and took thousands of lives just after a few days. And some of those people were only 8 years old when Super Typhoon Haiyan hit the Philippines. And in 2023, they were 18 years old. And we went to their high schools and said, do you want to come with me to China and study renewable energy engineering? And they said yes. So that was in 2023. We took 18-year-olds. No, actually, 2 of them were still 17 only. But yeah, anyway, we took them to China and started this program, put them in a university in China to study renewable energy. This university is in the middle of the desert, but it has the best sunlight, it has the strongest wind, and that's the perfect place to study renewable energy in China. And when they were leaving the Philippines, I was saying, look, there are 7 billion people in the whole world, and you, 18 kids, are the only 18 in about 3 or 4 years who can speak very good English, very good Chinese, who know about climate change, as the ones who have survived some of the worst typhoons in the Philippines, and you know about renewable energy. But more important than those are that, you have business partners already by the time you leave China, because you have been growing up, you have been studying, you have been going to the same classrooms as Chinese kids. So when you graduate, already you have business partners built in your network. So I think this is something that we can really, really do here in Pakistan, because Pakistan, I believe, is probably in the whole world at the best advantage, or has the best advantage to actually escalate and scale up green energy or renewable energy technology transfer with China. For the following reasons: CPEC, we know that started back in 2015 when the Belt and Road Initiative was only 2 years. And before that, way before that, Pakistan and China have the longest diplomatic relationship in the whole world again. And more than that, now between China and Pakistan, we were talking about water sharing. We are also sharing glaciers between China and Pakistan. We have so many glaciers between these two countries. But also, more importantly, again, we have that trust and friendship that a lot of countries do not really get today. And that's why, as Red was saying, peace is so important. When we talk about today's disputes, today's wars, a lot of this have started because of fossil fuels. But if we are actually developing renewable energy, it's not just the jobs that will come along for our young people. It's not just safe climate. It's also safer region, a safer world for everyone. So I strongly believe that the people are the ones we can do. In China, we actually have a nickname for Pakistan. It's called the Pakistani iron. And the word iron here refers to friendship like iron. It will not break easily. That's the kind of friendship we're talking about between China and Pakistan. So with this kind of trust, with this kind of friendship, with this kind of expectation, I really hope that, in the future, the renewable energy collaboration is not just a Chinese company coming into Pakistan and build a country, build a project and then leave, right? That's not kind of long-term friendship building. That's not the kind of people-to-people project we're looking for. I think the real opportunities in the future are really a lot of students from Pakistan going into China, and at the same time, a lot of technologies coming into Pakistan, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of research and development coming into Pakistan, so that this renewable energy really lands here, gets planted in here, and starts to grow very strong roots. So I do end it here with the strong words for our young people in the audience. Go to China, use your beautiful language skills, speak Chinese, and then come back with business partners, with the technology, and show the whole world that this is so possible and it can happen even faster than what China has done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. On technology, we already seen a lot of Chinese technology. Only a few months ago, I could not see an EV car, but now in Islamabad, you run into a lot of EV cars, showrooms. So the exchange is happening. I think the next stage of that is things being manufactured in Pakistan for it to create jobs and technology, etc. So thank you very much for your intervention. So now we will move to the private sector perspective. Seema, from your perspective, the private sector has been innovating a lot, and there's been a lot of social innovation on South-South exchanges. What are concretely, where do you see the most immediate opportunity for scale-up solutions and the private sector's role on climate action?
Thank you very much, sir. Assalamu alaikum, bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Before I say anything else, I'd like to say thank you to the Dawn group for inviting me, and also to Her Excellency, Madam Romina, who, by her passionate speech, people of the world. You said region, I would say the world. It's from that perspective that I would like to speak to you. Just out of curiosity, in the audience, may I see a show of hands as to how many people are from the private sector here today? And how many are from either public sector or the non-for-profit? I wish to have seen more from the private sector today. To answer your question, I think it makes sense to, before we can see where is the opportunity, we should know who is patient capital, because they're the ones who will see the opportunity. What is the global south? Because that's where the opportunity is globally. It's not in Silicon Valley, it's in the global south. And then the third is, where are those opportunities and how do we take advantage of them? So who is patient capital? In one sentence, patient capital is not extractive capital. There is actually a battle in private sector globally, occurring today in every single country. Patient capital is the Wallenbergs of Sweden, who just stepped in and invested an undisclosed amount to save Stegra. Stegra is the first green steel manufacturing plant in the world. It's a commitment to provide Sweden's contribution to the energy transition. This is important to note because the battle is between elements like a Wallenberg family patient capital that is thinking 100 years ahead, who is thoughtful, and who is seeing the difference between extraction, which is taking only for yourself and profit now, versus future. So if you keep that in mind, what is patient capital? And without naming names, I think any one of us can think of what is extractive capital. That actually moves us to who is the global south. The global south could be anyone from the BRICS, China all the way to Brazil, to emerging markets. I define global south as where are the resources. And this is why patient versus extractive capital is important. Extractive capital is telling countries who own the resources that they need to buy the technologies in order to save their resources while investing to extract the resources. Think about that. That conundrum is amazing when you think about it. Buy our stuff so we can take your resources to sell you more of our stuff, is basically what's happening. Patient capital is in negotiations with the people who are around this group to discuss where is the intersect between money, policy, and national development, because that's the most profitable. The Wallenbergs are some of the most wealthy family in the world out of families. You will never hear about them because they act to show how they invest. And that is similar to an example within Pakistan, which is the ED Foundation. It is a type of capital. And the minute we start to see the non-for-profit sector as a type of capital is when we change it from seeing money sucked in to actually sustainability coming out. That aspect of thoughtfulness, of learning how to navigate your public sector, every single country has public sector issues. But if you learn how to navigate your public sector to drive that intersect between capital, policy, and who's actually benefiting, that's where you're going to get the maximum amount of profit long term, coming back to patient capital. So where are the opportunities? I noted that the global south, regardless of levels of development, are where the resources sit. The opportunity is in three areas. One is soil restoration and agriculture. Agriculture is more than food. It is fashion, it is your clothing, it is what you eat, it is your water. All of these are highly profitable industries. And what I find fascinating is while you have huge agricultural industrial giants selling genetically modified seeds to the global south, they are cultivating natural seeds from the global south to plant in developed nations and remove genetically modified seeds. I urge the private sector that is involved in agriculture to use this valuable resource as a bank and think of ways to capitalize it and to monetize it for the benefit of your own people. This is just one example. If you think of every single natural resource, it is very similar. So that brings to me to, if we're looking at this, where is the opportunity? The opportunity is right in front of us. I think it was Ren who said that it's not the large scale, it's not the macroeconomic policies, it's the people on the ground. That opportunity of working with farmer cooperatives, trade centers, women in arts and crafts, these are actually the most profitable because these are the people where you can give back the most value as well as take the most value. And that creates the resilience. I'm a member of this group called the Institute of Sovereign Investors. It's a group of former sovereign leaders who are actually working at this intersect. And one of the areas that we have found to create the most resilience is the evolution of sovereign capital to look at all of these resources as ways to create banks that then benefit the people. So, sir, you asked me what's the opportunity. The opportunity, I think, is right in front of us, but it means that we must think, we must be considerate, and we must be mutual in our decision-making around capitalizing on that opportunity. I'd like to close by saying that when I sat in the public sector seat, I used to feel really sorry for the private sector that was talking to us because they were usually surrounded by every single public sector official on the table. Now I feel sorry for myself. So I'm waiting for the ambassadors to tell me that there is something wrong with what I've said.
Thank you very much, Seema, for that intervention. So I got a note that, so I have to be sensitive to that. So we will move quickly to the ambassador of Nepal to Pakistan, Rita Dittal. And Rita, I think the question for you is what practical lessons or policies can be shared from a South-South perspective with Pakistan as a mountain state? Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Yaya. It's a distinct honor to join such a distinguished panel, and I thank Dawn Media for the opportunity. As shared by previous speakers, climate change is a great threat to humanity and to ecosystem, and poor and developing countries are affected more by this. Nepal and Pakistan both have negligible contribution to the emissions, but we are among the nations that bear the greatest burden. When we come to the glacier melting, I think it's a shared vulnerability for countries that has high mountains, including Nepal and Pakistan. And glacier lake outburst floods not just only threaten the water security, livelihoods, and infrastructure, they also are hampering the key economic sectors such as tourism and agriculture and hydropower generation in Nepal. To share with you the Nepal's experience, Nepal, as you may already know, is in a very climate-sensitive geography and is vulnerable to socioeconomic conditions. Since 1970s, we have experienced major gluts, which has resulted into significant loss of lives, damage to properties, and destruction of critical infrastructures, including hydropower plants. If you have been following the news recently, in 2024 August, two glacier lake outbursts caused massive flood that swept away Thame village in East Nepal. At least 47 glacier lakes have been identified in Nepal as the potential threat for outbursts if the temperature continues to rise. Of course, within our national capacity, we have been doing what we can at the national level. Our approach is most of nature-based solutions and community-led initiatives. And what we are trying to do is focus on reforestation for slope stabilization and protection of buffer zones around wetlands to mitigate the downstream floods. Apart from this, Nepal from the early 2010 has adopted local adaptation plan of action. So rather than centrally focused planning system, we are focusing on community-led initiative where the local knowledge is combined with the scientific knowledge to bring the best results. Most recently, Nepal has also done engineering of the engineered lake lowering. The identified lakes which has potential threat of outbursts, we have been using engineering to lower the lake levels, and recently Nepal has access fund from Green Climate Fund project. It's a 7-year project, and it will be focusing mostly on community-based adaptation initiatives. Key components of it are, of course, expanding and upgrading hazard monitoring and early warning systems, reducing water levels in 4 of the identified glacial lakes, and also strengthening riverbanks and flood-prone areas through reforestation and protective infrastructure such as check dams and also vegetative gabion walls. Following the successful intervention in Chorolpa and Imja glacial lakes in the past, the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, in partnership with the UNDP, are initiating the lowering of the 4 lakes that have the potential to burst if the temperature continue to rise. And we are also advancing a major initiative to reduce the risk of glacial lake outburst floods in the Koshi and Gandaki river basins. The project also aims to catalyze public and private investment in climate risk reduction, setting an example for other countries to follow. At the regional level, Nepal headquarters EC Mode, which is producing, monitoring and producing disaster data to the member states. And I think last year there was an MOU between EC Mode and Pakistan, and there's a project which is working on ecosystem restoration in Pakistan already. When we come to South-South cooperation and what Nepal can share with the rest of the countries, we admire the Pakistan state-of-art technology in disaster risk monitoring at the NDMA. I think Pakistan is currently implementing GLOF2 project, focusing on installing automated weather station monitoring tools. What Nepal can share would be, of course, the community-based approach that we are following up, and Nepal's community forestry program has been a success story which we started during 70s, and it can be one of the areas where Pakistan can look at. And we have been using micro hydro development in Nepal, which is helping the rural community to electrify the rural community and at the same time reduce the level of the glacier lakes in the mountains. I have already received a note, so I will cut short my speaking notes and would like to conclude that Nepal has been an advocate for the mountain agenda, if you allow me, Mr. Yaya, to say that since COP13. And what we are doing at the national level, of course, is not adequate to deal with the challenges that the climate change requires international support. We need to strengthen global and regional partnership to accelerate climate finance, access to advanced technologies, and enhance capacity building. Nepal stands ready to work collectively with other countries at risk with a common voice in international forum, calling for urgent global collective action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can send a note, but now I have a problem because Ambassador Soham of Maldives is very far away from me, so I can't give him a note, but I am confident he will limit his intervention to 5 minutes. Ambassador, I think the question for you, a country that has been impacted than any other country I know visibly, is Maldives. As a frontline country, what interventions or shifts are you seeing on climate negotiations? And how can we get more predictable financing accountability on that front? Over to you, Ambassador.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and very good morning to you all. I would like to thank the Dawn Media for inviting me, inviting the Maldives, and organizing this beautiful event today. Actually, Maldives has been very vocal in this special topic for a very long time. We had the first cabinet meeting underwater to emphasize on this point. Therefore, we have been very vocal in SIDS, IOCs, and many other platforms in the UN. And although we have succeeded in some ways, but we have a lot of work to do, unfortunately. So when we see between Maldives and Pakistan, of course, we share a lot of common points in terms of culture, in terms of religion and all, but in terms of geography, we are very different. Maldives is a very low-lying country. We are at a very vulnerable state. Most of the islands in the Maldives is only 1 meter above the sea level. So that's very low. We had been struck with the disaster tsunami in 2004, which led to huge consequences, and a lot of people died, and a lot of damage to the whole country, as well as Pakistan, but in a different way, similar consequences. For example, the 2022 floods, the glaciers melting, and other vulnerable situations in Pakistan leads to the same results: loss of lives and loss of crops and severe damage to countries. So we have to act, and we have to act fast and in a responsible manner. So both our countries, although, as I mentioned, we are different in geography and scale even, but we have to stand on the front line of climate vulnerability. So in Maldives, rising sea levels, we are threatened with long-term sustainability, and coastal erosion and extreme weather situations directly impacting the tourism as well. The tourism is the main source of income to the Maldives. And climate change is an existential issue for the Maldives. And for Pakistan, floods with heat waves, water stress, large-scale humanitarian and economic impact happen due to climate change. So although Maldives contributes almost 0% in global emissions, greenhouse emissions, but we suffer the most. But at the same time, we try to be an example to the countries by implementing severe measures like His Excellency, the President of Maldives, Dr. Mohamed Muiz, stated that Maldives is committed by 2028 to go to transition the country in energy. So we are going to use at least 33% of our energy consumption from sustainable, renewable, clean energy by 2020. And we are very committed to work on. Also, by 2030, we are trying to achieve the net zero state. So we are, from our side, very much committed to this cause. Also, I would like to say, most of the time, vulnerable countries like us have limited negotiating power. Therefore, we have to work together. So when we are together collectively, our voice becomes stronger and it becomes more influential. So we have to push strongly for financing, adaptation financing, operationalization of loss and damage fund, accountability for climate commitments, and fair implementation mechanisms. So climate negotiations cannot remain focused only on distant targets, while vulnerable communities are facing immediate realities today. So we are not only lacking the funding, but we are also facing the difficulty of accessing. Although there are some funds promised to us, but we never receive it. So very complex application systems and very slow disbursement. There are technical barriers and huge delays between commitments and implementation. So we have to push for the implementation part. We have to emphasize. So adaptation is unfortunately not optional for us as vulnerable states. So it's a necessity for survival and resilience. So we call for simpler procedures and faster access for these funds, more grant-based financing, less debt-driven climate support, so that countries recovering from climate disasters cannot wait years for financial approval, while communities continue year by year to suffer like. So we global south should move beyond negotiations. We should focus on sharing our knowledge, sharing our platforms, technical cooperation, technology, capacity building, and practical implementation also. So in Maldives, we try to protect the marine ecosystem also, while protecting the islands, the coastal erosion part. In Pakistan, I think huge disaster response systems are managed and climate recovery operations are done and large-scale humanitarian coalitions are being taken. So there is enormous value in countries of the global south learning directly from each other. So as previously I said that we are very, very much committed, although we are almost 0% in the global emissions. So we have already implemented a lot of renewable energy transition mechanisms, and environmental protection, and resilience building efforts. My final message is that the climate crisis demands not only urgency, but solidarity. Frontline nations must continue working together to ensure that global climate action becomes more accountable, more inclusive, and more responsive to the realities faced by vulnerable communities. The Maldives remains committed to working closely with Pakistan and the wider global South in advancing these shared objectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, I think you've had a very diverse view today from diplomacy and what other countries are doing in the region, from global initiatives, but also private sector perspective and government perspective, and also what technologies that is already available. One of the most amazing things about Pakistan is how Pakistanis have transitioned through their rooftops without anybody telling them. They have solar panels everywhere, and that has helped a lot of communities deal with the challenges of increasing oil prices and other energy costs. So the debate will continue, but the message to take out of this is this region has to take the lead and do it itself. Help may not be coming, unfortunately, in the next few years. So leadership at the local and regional level will matter. And the final message is Pakistan is bringing global peace. Pakistan can lead on climate action. With that, please put your hands for this incredible panel.